Howdy today. So today I want to talk about something that is important about starting. Um, when you're working on things, you want to have some goals. So I'm going to get to these. So in order to look super effective, right, when you arrive anywhere, you start your day or you're meeting with a manager and so on, it is all about getting access to the data that they're working with daily. So don't let things happen. Don't let people tell you where the data is and what the data sources are. Pursue it right off the bat. Okay, so your day one. Do I have access to my email? Yes, good. Okay, what's next? Well, what are the data sources? Who are actually the people that care about having data quality, right? Is there anybody? So, first thing, look at your manager, look at their hierarchy. So, if you're working with the Microsoft stuff, it actually doesn't really matter. Escape, um, Skype, and Teams, Slack, they're all on the back end. The data is the same thing. It's the table may be called people or peoples or records, whatever it is. You're just seeing a different representation of the front end, right? So somebody that was tasked with creating the user interface, well, they put purple on this. Another company, they put purple on half of it, and the other side was orange. Some other company just uses orange, etc. So what you see on the front end doesn't matter, okay? It's the data that's behind it that matters. So if you go and then look at that manager that you work for and then look at their hierarchy, who do they work for? If they work for somebody they can actually found on LinkedIn, go to LinkedIn and find out everything that they've done for the last 20 years or see how long they've been working, right? So if it's a director, you hope that that director has been working for at least 20 years in the industry before you can trust them. If this is somebody that has less than, I'm going to say 15 years in the workforce, they're still climbing the ladder and they will still step on your back and they will not be interested. But people who have been long enough in the industry, they'll actually know that they need to collaborate with people that work for them, right? So you want to find a relationship between those two, between that tier. And it may not necessarily be your manager. Your manager, the reason you got hired is probably because everybody else that was working with that manager before you got fired, right? Because they couldn't handle that manager. You couldn't work with the guy or woman, whatever. I'm not going to discriminate. Men and women, managers, they're equally bad and equally good. There are some great managers. There are some great women. There are some great men in leadership positions that will be totally worth your time. But, there's always that. And I'm gonna say it's about 60% bad, and the rare 40, maybe even 35 or 30% of management is good. And the good is that they don't care about themselves. They care about your success, right? There may be the managers that actually are successful are those that already have money in their bank. The ones that are, have keep making kids and they're worried about what's going to happen tomorrow and their wife is on their back, or their husband is on their back, they're going to be the worst managers because they are now worried about the future, not of themselves, but of their wife, who will leave them if they don't make any money, or their children. Okay, so at this point, I'm over 60, I'm close to retirement, and I don't really care. Okay, I like to care and I would love to care, but unfortunately, you're working with people that are just set out for you to either fail or succeed, right? So if you study the chain of command and you find somebody that has a really nice profile on LinkedIn, follow them, or maybe even if you dare, connect with them, right? And showcase your work on LinkedIn so that they can see what it is that you're actually capable of, So I've been in the workforce over 30 years. I mean, I started when I was 20. I was in the military for a while, then I came out of the military and I got my American citizenship the right way, right? 3 years in the active duty military and 5 years in the reserve. And my citizenship was pretty much, I showed up in San Antonio, and they said, "You've done more for this country than anybody else. Here's your passport." Okay, so here is my basically American citizenship. So it was great to do it that way. However, not everybody will see you as somebody that can help them, but somebody will. There are some great managers. I don't know if I can say their names really because it's still YouTube, so I could be kind of maybe affected by revealing who these people were. When I was working at IT Masters, I had a great manager there. When I was working at Dell, I had a great manager there. Unfortunately, he succumbed to the pressure of corporate politics, and he became a bad manager. In the end, I mean, what did I actually? I left Dell because I was complaining about somebody's name tag. They like changed the name tag around, and I couldn't find them. So I was like, "Hey, what's going on with the name tag?" And that's how it was. One complaint. So my career there was great. One complaint, off you go. Okay, let's get the head chopping queen over and let's get you out of here. But if you have a skill, you have a skill. You can get hired tomorrow. So don't be so afraid if you have a skill set. If you have no skill set, you just got hired. Well, maybe you're watching, hopefully, my video to help you how to get through the corporation ladders and so on. I always wanted to be a director, but it meant that you have to give up technical knowledge. So I love technical knowledge more than directorship. Although, and I'm not sure why this model actually has survived so long in the United States. I don't think it's the case anywhere else because, like, my brother works in Germany and I talked to him, and it's not the same thing over there. Although there are American managers that go to other countries and they bring the bullshit with them. Okay, the American management is horrible. They have 10 managers for like one person, right? And the movie Office Space, where they have like, hey, where's your TPS reports? That's America still today, 2025, still today, still exactly like that. And if you challenge any of those managers, say, hey, why are you here? You're redundant. You're asking me questions that manager's already asked me, and I've already documented this. You will become the problem. Yes, you will become that problem. Okay. So I have a great colleague actually I'm working with. He just says, dude, shut the fuck up and just go with the flow. Don't complain. So back to accessing data, all right, and actually watching the hierarchy of command or the chain of command within an organization. You're never gonna make friends with the CEO. You're never gonna make friends with the CFO. Unless you Elon Musk, which most of us aren't. And so there's about 8 billion people on the planet. Wake up call, 8 billion people on the planet are not Elon Musk. There's only one Elon Musk. So you can give up on that. You're going to have to be following the grind. And, if you're 35, 40, 45, and you think you're that badass manager, just wait a couple of years. You will eventually, what you've done to others will be done to you. Guarantee it. Okay, access to data. You want to ask, I should probably chapterize this stuff. You want to ask, hey, what methods of connecting to the data are available? So they're gonna, some cool kids over there because they've seen JSON B, they have JSON where you have a key pair value, and they will claim all kinds of stuff about JSON being great and whatnot. So they will probably try to push REST API on you first. So with BMC software, there is a REST API with the CMDB, there's a REST API with the digital workplace, and there's a REST API with the ARSys. So there's 3 different types to get to it. You have ARSys, you have CMDB. I personally, I would like CMDB if I'm dealing with CMDB objects, and I would like to deal with the REST API because it's just gives me access to all the tables equally, right? Now, access to the REST API there is different between the different applications that are actually running so you have a platform. The platform is ARSys, that's the AR System API, and then the CMDB API, which is the application that runs on that platform. So you're going to have different access to that data through there. So is it available? Well, if it is available, how do I get to it? What are the links? What are the endpoints? Ask somebody for a document. And again, here's where you find out whether your manager actually knows anything about anything. If you ask them, hey, where's the REST API documentation? And then they'll go, I don't know, go ask that guy. Okay. and then go ask that guy or that woman, and if they know, become their best friend. Okay, buy them lunch, buy them flowers, whatever it takes. Although it may be illegal actually in the United States to do that, but make friends. If REST API isn't available now, it's 2025, so I know it's crazy to say that. Why wouldn't REST API be available? Your next step is going to be database access. Now, this is going to be a little bit more difficult because most people actually don't really understand what JDBC is about. So you have a Java driver that connects to the database, and you can run SQL queries through it once you establish that connection. But it's going to require probably a service account. So you want to go start asking immediately, do you have a service account? And if they do, well, there is one. If there isn't one, ask for it to be created. But usually a company will give you access to data if you're an engineer by your login, or they will actually do this by giving you a service account, right? So that you're going to have then read-only, you're going to have read-write access to a database. I've been able to make enough friends with BMC management, actually the current management at BMC, that they would give me read-write access to a database because they know that I know what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm not just going to go in and do a truncate table, which is running in production. So these are dangers that you're going to have to or may have to defend, assuming that your manager will actually even know what you're talking about. Okay. Now, the third thing is there's going to be people that don't trust the company and they will just create their own shadow CMDB. That shadow CMDB is going to be something like a spreadsheet that they've been keeping for years. Okay, so they will have what they will call it a ledger usually. So it's like a ledger thing, and it's going to be whatever data is actually important to them on a daily basis, because they also have to perform, right? So they will have something that's reliable and can get to every day, and they will have it in a spreadsheet. So you want to find out and ask around. If you're lucky enough to be introduced to a channel where people have various different tasks and duties, if you ask them, hey, do you have like a spreadsheet that you've been keeping? Can I have access to that? Now, companies are using the SharePoint, so you're gonna have some sort of a SharePoint, whatever it is. Start asking questions about that, and it will become very clear, within a couple of weeks, within months, a year later, that you will definitely see the value of it and how fast you were able to get into the what I call the market. Okay, within a company, there is definitely an internal business, an internal market of things that happen. You want to be part of that market, and you want to be able to trade some of those goods on that market within any corporation. Okay, the goods are going to be your application. So this is going to be your product. This is your portfolio business service. If you have a product that you can contribute with, or maybe some sort of a SQL logic that you can apply and maybe even get a patent on it. So I'm still seeing people actually today on LinkedIn, somebody I worked with for many, many years, a long time ago, just got a patent for a company he's working for. I didn't even think that that's even doable, and it's not that big of a deal unless you have something that can really be marketed and reproduced in volume, and you don't have to sign an NDA on it. So if you're giving your work to the company you work for, so if you want to get a copyright, you may want to do this externally. Although if the company finds out, you could be sued because you signed the NDA. So actually, in my current employment, I don't have an NDA. So technically, anything I learn at the job, I can go recreate personally. Now, whether they actually agree with that, I don't know. But legally, I don't recall signing any NDA. All right, so that's the 3 ways of accessing your data. And that, beyond whatever I'm going to talk to you about today, I just want to add this little bit. If you're working with BMC, I think they're maybe either upgrading or phasing out the casing gateway. If they are, it's an ETL tool. I personally hated it when I first saw it. I was like, what the heck is this? But that was 2008, so it's 17 years ago. Since then, I had to work with it a lot. And I had worked with it to a point where it's like I can think in the terms of the Spoon utility. So whatever the upgrades are to it, I'm sure they have improved. Please make it so if if you have software for 20 years, hopefully your stuff is improving, not degrading. Okay. So don't deprecate yourself by creating stupid improvements to the product, especially on features that worked previously. That's a message to the companies like Hitachi currently owns Kettle. Web service credentials and access methods. Well, web services, unfortunately, are kind of dead. Nobody cares about web services within an organization anymore. It's all about the REST API. Even though the XML formatted data that you get out of a web service has its merit, has its value, it can be parsed, and there may still be companies that are actually using it. Probably the government. The government may be using it, but if you have that and you want to use it, ask for a web service credentials and have access to that. And yeah, when I was actually the REST API access to ServiceNow, because I was switching from ServiceNow to BMC software, I needed to get to the reviews, right? So in order to get to the REST API interface, I had to have a specific user, user. And that user just turned out to be a service account. So that way, if I ever leave and I create anything that pulls data out of anywhere, it survives you. So when, somebody, if there's a bug 3 years later in it and they're trying to find out who did it, don't worry, they will not call you back. They would rather try to make the person that they hired after you to figure it out, and maybe they'll be good, maybe they won't be good. I mean, who knows, right? But I've never seen anybody actually call me back over all the stuff that I've created at different companies. I do get like the managers or the directors, they will call me and say, hey, how you doing? They will send me a message through LinkedIn, they will send me an email or stuff like that, or through WhatsApp even, and just say, hey man, we really enjoyed it. I think they're kind of hoping that I would volunteer how I design everything. Unfortunately, it's been so long that I don't remember what I did there, so go figure. But, using service accounts is probably the best way to do it. However, whatever you use, put in your name in there. Hey, I did this on this day and I did it for this reason. So anytime I do anything, actually right now, I put in who the author is, what date was it created on, and where to find the documentation by using ADO. So I'm hoping that ADO will survive, maybe not 100 years beyond my lifetime. And that link to that ADO story or epic or feature will still be there in that particular code, right? So they can go in there and say, okay, what did the guy do? And then I put in all the release notes and all that stuff into that ADO story. Now, does my manager ever read that? Heck no. You can't even get them to get past 2 paragraphs in anything. So they will write, well, I think they probably just copy and paste from somewhere, and it's going to be like this big. But when you actually go review it back later, they will only read like the top line. And they will keep claiming that you didn't answer the question, even though you've put in like, War and Peace worth of documentation below. They will never read it. Okay, so they will just like I said in my other video, just get ready. It's always your fault. It's never their fault. It's always your fault. Okay, so with that, it is late over here in Texas. I'm gonna go to bed, and tomorrow I actually have something exciting happening in the morning. I'm getting a call from somebody that may be changing my future, so I'm looking forward to that. We'll see what happens. Peace and time out for me, the Black Hole Surfer.